Hello everyone, welcome back to Fantom Sports Industries. My name's Joe Soyson. I'm a contributor for Fantom Sports Hockey page, and today I'll be wrapping up my series of power ranking goalie rooms by division for the upcoming season. The Central Division is last on the docket, so here we go. And number 8, the Arizona Coyotes. Look, it's a two-man locker room with not a lot of experience. These two guys combined for a total of 129 NHL starts, and they've both only played for 2 seasons. The guy with the most experience is Karel Vejmelka. He's 27 years old, and he's been the go-to guy for the past 2 seasons. 102 games played, career save percentage of 89.9, but I like him for his build. He's 6'4", 224, and he catches right. So not only is he big, but the fact that the glove hand is switched throws off a lot of shooters. Connor Ingram joined the team last year. He came over from Nashville and went 6-13-8. But his numbers through 30 games are slightly above Vejmelka's. Goals against average of 3.40, save percentage of 90.5. Look, this is not the same team that was able to upset Nashville in the playoff bubble. It's a young squad that makes a lot of mistakes. They gave up the 3rd most shots against in the league last year. They also had the 4th most penalties. But they're learning and getting better. We'll see how this year goes. I've got Arizona at number 8. At number 7, the St. Louis Blues. It's a well-rounded group. They've got players with experience, players with youth, but I feel like there's a lot of pressure on Jordan Binnington this year. He was the X factor that the Blues needed to win that Stanley Cup a few years ago, and I realize it's not been the same roster since, but Binnington's numbers have never been the same. In fact, he's gotten progressively worse since that Stanley Cup season. Last year, he had career lows in save percentage and goals against average. Now that being said, I think he can still shine in the spotlight. His numbers in the playoffs take a slight improvement from the regular season, and noteworthy, the last time he was in the playoffs, he went 4-1 with a goals against average of 1.72 and a save percentage of 94.9. Joel Hofer and Malcolm Subban round out the second string on this team. Subban's got more experience. The 29-year-old has played for 4 different teams, but remained fairly consistent. 36, 33, and 9 in his career, goals against average of 3.10. Hofer is the youngest member of this goalie squad. He's 23 years old. He's only played in 8 games over 2 seasons, but his numbers aren't too far off from Subban's. 3.18 goals against average, save percentage at an even 90. Look, overall, from starter to backup, these numbers are just a tad higher than you'd like them to be, and the Blues don't do themselves any favors by having a defense that allowed the 9th most shots against of any team in the league. That being said, if any one of these players steps up, they could still very well be a playoff team. They've got players with good names. They just have to step up. I've got the Blues at number 7. At number 6, the Chicago Blackhawks. Look, Chicago's numbers are slightly behind the Blues numbers, but the Blackhawks roster has been significantly weaker in recent seasons. They've got 3 guys who can get the job done this year. Starts with Peter Mrazek. He's 31 years old, entering his 12th season in the league, and his goals against average and save percentage for his career are good. 2.76, 90.7 percentage. His win rate is a little low, but he's spent a lot of his career elevating teams with average or below offenses. The 2 times he had good offensive support, he went 50, 32, and 8 in Carolina and 12 and 6 in Toronto. And notably, he's gotten significantly better stats in the playoffs. 2.43 goals against average and 91.1 save percentage. The next most experienced guy is Arvid Soderblom, but it's not a ton of experience. Soderblom has only played in 18 NHL games, but he is 24 years old, and last year was the most action he'd seen in an NHL regular season. I am interested to see how the other 24-year-old goaltender, Jackson Stauber, develops. He played in 6 games last year, around January and February, but he went 5-1, beating Calgary and Dallas on the road, plus a home win against Toronto, so he's showing a lot of promise. Now, there are still question marks to this squad, but it feels like the offense this year is going to take a step up, and that's proven to be very beneficial for this squad in particular. That's why I've got the Chicago Blackhawks at number 6. And number 5, the Colorado Avalanche. So as I was preparing this video, the news dropped about Pavel Francouz being placed on long-term injured reserve, which really changes things for this ranking, because this was a fascinating squad with him in the lineup. I mean, between him and Alexander Georgiev, this was a duo that essentially never had the chance to start before last season, and they were winning a lot. I mean, Francouz in his career is 44, 21, and 6, with a goals against average of under 2.5 and a save percentage just short of 92%. Those are great numbers for a backup. And Georgiev got his first full starting season last year and popped off. 40, 16, and 6 with career best goals against average and save percentage numbers. I mean, what can I say? The 27-year-old Bulgarian is good. Way better than anticipated. But without Francouz, the depth at goalie is a big question mark for this group. Justus Annunen has only played in 4 games. They brought in Ivan Prosvetov from the Coyotes. But collectively, the two of them are putting up numbers closer to 4 goals against average and a save percentage of well under 90, which means that once again, the pressure this year is on Georgiev to have another pop-off season. He's got a good roster around him to get a ton of wins, but for those 20 or so games that he's resting, the depth is a question mark. You're just not sure what you're going to get, which is why I've pulled Colorado back to number 5. And number 4, the Nashville Predators. Part of the reason Nashville was even close to the playoffs last season was because of their goaltending. They were 28th in goals for last season and 12th in goals against, despite allowing the 6th most shots against in the league. UC Saros is their guy, and he is good. He may be small at 5'11", but it doesn't matter. He is a rock star in net. And check out his career numbers. 147 wins, 95 losses, and 27 overtime losses means that he is winning nearly 55% of his games. Save percentage of 91.9, goals against average of 2.58. I mean, those two numbers are pretty similar to what Vasilevsky is putting up in Tampa Bay. Nashville also has some depth. Kevin Lankinen might have just found his groove last season. After 2 years with the Blackhawks, he put up his best numbers with the Predators last season, going 9-8-1, with a goals against average of 2.75 and a save percentage of 91.6. They also have their 21-year-old Russian goaltender, Yaroslav Askarov, who only got to play in 1 game last year. We'll see how much we see of him this season, but he's another talented prospect. To me, it's a goalie group with a very high ceiling, but they have some stiff competition to overcome in this division, which is why I've only got them at number 4. And number 3, the Dallas Stars. There's only 2 players listed on the Dallas roster at goaltender, but one of them is a superstar. Jake Oettinger is 24 years old, 6'6", and when he is on his game, he is lights out. In 131 games counting towards his record. He's got a win percentage of 59.5. His career goals against average is 2.42, best in the division. Save percentage, 91.6. And he's only played in 3 seasons. He's 13-13 in the postseason with similar statistics. And you could argue, well, he benefits from a good defense in front of him. Sure, but his breakout moment was 2 seasons ago in the playoffs when he made 64 saves in a Game 7 on the road against a top-tier Calgary Flames offense. He's the cake, not the icing on top. Goalie number 2 on this roster is Scott Wedgwood. Now, Wedgwood's numbers are significantly down from Jake Ottinger's, but since coming to Dallas, he's put up some of his best numbers. As a member of the Stars, he's 12-9-6, and last year, his best goals against average and save percentage for a season where he played more than 5 games. I've got a similar vibe to Tampa Bay here. When Ottinger is in net, they are a threat. But when he's out for the 20 or 30 games that he's going to have to rest for, they're going to put a lot of pressure on Scott Wedgwood. Now, I do think Wedgwood is improving, and this is probably the best roster he's ever been on in his NHL career. but that win percentage is just a tad too low for my liking to put them any higher, which is why I've got the Dallas Stars at number 3. At number 2, the Winnipeg Jets. Look, I love this duo out of Winnipeg. It's two guys who could potentially start for half the league, and they've got the hardware to back it up. Connor Hellebuck just got signed for big money. He won the Vezina back in 2019-2020. But how about last season when he was tied for the 4th best save percentage in the league at 92% even? In fact, his save percentage has been consistently good from regular season to postseason. In his career, a save percentage of 91.6 in both the postseason and regular season. Not to mention a career goals against average of 2.66 that gets better in the postseason. Laurent Brossoit makes a return to Winnipeg after a 2-season stint with the Golden Knights, and it's easy to forget that had it not been for an injury, Brossoit would have been Vegas' starter in the Stanley Cup. By the way, Brossoit barely took a loss last season. He only started in 10 games, but he went 7-0-3, then went 5-2 in the playoffs. Still gets his name etched on the trophy, still looks good headed into this season. But overall, I mean, this is a squad that will always give your team a chance to win, and that's really all you can ask from your goaltenders, which is why I've got them at number 2 in the Central. At number 1, the Minnesota Wild. Look, Colorado, Dallas, Winnipeg, they all had better offense, higher goals per game average, and better defense in terms of total shots against than the Wild last year. And yet Minnesota had the 6th best goals against average in the league. The only team in this division with a better goals against average was Dallas, who arguably had the best defense in the division. Marc-Andre Fleury is 38 years old. He still wins games. Last year he went 24-16-4. His career goals against average is just over 2.5, and his save percentage is at 91.3. His numbers take a slight improvement in the playoffs too, and there's not a goalie in the league with more playoff wins than Marc-Andre Fleury. Philip Gustafsson is getting more and more time in net. He looks better and better for it. The 25-year-old, this was his first season with the Wild. He went 22-9-7, plus a goals against average of 2.1 and a save percentage of 93.1. Saw his first playoff action last year as well, and although they lost the playoff series, his numbers only slightly dipped. They've also got a few prospects waiting in the wings as well, so there's depth to this lineup, which I always consider to be a bonus. Look, I'll admit, Fleury is not the same goaltender he once was. His numbers are higher in the past few seasons, but it's not like they're egregious. 2.83 goals against average, 90.8 save percentage since joining Minnesota. He just continues to churn out wins. And Gustafsson signed a deal with Minnesota, so he'll be around for a while and he'll get better. Look, there's a reason that this team just continues to make the playoffs year after year after year. This squad, this goalie group is just doing more with less, which is why I've got them at number 1 in the Central. And that's it for today. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like our content, please be sure to click that subscribe button to get notified of future uploads to this channel. Also be sure to check out our official site, fantomsportsindustries.com. There you can see other updates and news alerts from some of our other contributors across the entire sports world. But that's going to be it for me. Once again, my name has been Joe Soyson, and from Fantom Sports Industries, we hope to see more of you next time.